Donald Trump effed around, and once again, he's in the process of finding out in a way that he has often found out of late, and it has to do with his insane rants on social media. So he went off on the judge and the judge's family in the hush money case that he's currently racing towards. And as a result of that, he's got another gag order slapped down on him. So here are the sort of messages that he has been sending. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because they're way, way, way too long, but it starts with the important part, which is Judge Juan Merchan, who is suffering from an acute case of Trump derangement syndrome, whose daughter represents crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Adam Shifty Schiff, and other radical liberals, has just posted a picture of me behind bars, her obvious goal, and makes it completely impossible for me to get a fair trial. She doesn't have anything to do with this, by the way. Even if she posted the picture, she has literally nothing to do with this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so then he goes on to say, so let me get this straight. The judge's daughter is allowed to post pictures of her dream of putting me in jail, blah, blah, blah. Again, have you seen the pictures that Donald Trump and his family have posted online? Don Jr. posted a picture mocking the fact that Nancy Pelosi's husband had his skull cracked open by a hammer. That's not a problem, I guess. Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait, click join now on YouTube. As a result of those sorts of messages, attacking the judge, attacking his family, the judge slapped a gag order on him, announcing it, saying, given that the eve of trial is upon us, it's coming up in just a few weeks, it is without question that the imminency of the risk of harm to potential witnesses and those sorts of things is now paramount. And this gag order is consequential. As an expert puts it, you can take a look at this.
The order is identical to the order in the DC circuit that they approved, except this one goes one step beyond and also protects jurors. But the DC circuit hadn't considered whether or not to protect jurors at this stage. Narrowly drawn. The judge, in fact, is saying, I have to do this in order to protect the administration of justice. I don't think the order is going anywhere, so I don't think Trump could even think really about appealing it successfully, and he really has to stay within this line. If he doesn't, then I think there could be serious consequences.
Serious consequences, including jail time?
Yes, at a certain point. And just last night, Maggie Haberman was on CNN explaining it's going to be quite interesting to see him sitting there as a former president in this courtroom 4 days a week, and then with people who he doesn't like to see getting under his skin and then going on the campaign trail on the weekends. What does he say on the weekends? Now we have a gag order that says if he goes after those witnesses, etc., there could be consequences, and at a certain point he could be held in contempt, and that could mean jail time because there's nothing else that the court would be able to use in order to deter him, and he seems undeterrable otherwise.
I agree with that last part. I find it impossible to imagine that he would be thrown up for contempt of court, but maybe we'll find out because he's not gonna stop attacking people in the trial. You know how I know that? Because those messages I showed you to start off this segment, they weren't the ones that led to the gag order. He sent those this morning after the gag order. So now that doesn't mean that those messages will get him locked up because there is a very important wrinkle to this gag order. He attacked the judge, he attacked the judge's family, and as a result of that, there's the gag order. But the interesting thing is that the gag order does not stop Trump from attacking the judge and the judge's family. As was listed kind of in that video, it's the lawyers and witnesses and jurors and things like that. And that's good. It should probably go without saying that you can't dox a juror in your criminal trial. But I guess with Trump, you do have to say that. And so the gag order's there. Trump is not happy about it at all. Sharon, what do you think about it?
We're so used to his antics and his all caps shouting and how everything is sad that I think sometimes we fail to realize the gravity of this thing. If you put in a simple Google search like I did, I just wrote federal racketeering, mobsters, gag orders, juries, Trump came up. Every entry underneath is Trump. And these are the kind of gag orders that are used for, John Gotti. Okay,
yeah.
These are the toughest. We gotta protect the jury. That's what they've given him here because he's a loose cannon that can really get people hurt.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Obviously, it is interesting that they left open attacking the judge and the judge's family. Like, if I was a member of the judge's family, I'd be worried right now, literally for my safety. And the interesting thing is, I'm not even just worried about it because they could end up being harmed. But also because, and I'm not a lawyer, I share that largely with Alina Habba. I'm not a lawyer, so bear that in mind. Don't follow my legal advice like you would not follow Alina Habba's. If he spends the next 8 weeks attacking the judge in vicious terms, and then they end up throwing him in jail or something as a result of this, Like, if you were Trump's lawyer, wouldn't you claim a mistrial? Like, how could the judge and the jury possibly give him a fair, trial when he's been attacking the judge? So the judge is probably mad about it. Again, they don't seem to be worried about that, but I would be a little bit concerned. What I will say is we've got about 2.5 weeks until the trial begins. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the timeline of the trial, but that's 2.5 weeks where Trump is going to have to not attack the lawyers and things like that. But I am sure that on a daily basis, he is going to be demonizing the judge. So expect that. And remember the stakes here. 34 counts of falsifying business records in this hush money case, 1 to 4 potential years of prison time if he is found guilty of those. We'll have to see. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.